system, and specifically how to capture the data from that source and or that destination to accurately solve the problem. And you're going to have to know how to isolate that problem based on some other detective work. So as an example, you may have to ask some questions. You may have to say, okay, I am the analyst and I am here to help you. I'm going to use Wireshark to solve this. What is your problem? What hosts is it affecting? You know, what areas, what sites, this type of question, that type of question. But also, is this happening intermittently? Is there something that we can reproduce? Does this happen predominantly at certain times of the day? The reason is because you can place it correctly, but now when do you actually set up the capture to capture? When do you do this? So do you run a capture all day, every day, or do you specifically run capture at time of problem or suspected time of problem? So again, we covered this with the OSI model, but with data encapsulation specifically, what the header is and what that really means. And a good way to show you this is to simply show you what information is out there for you. But you could say IP header. Know what you're looking at here as far as any specific IP header. I'm sorry, that's a very rough picture. So I will pick a different one. Know what you're looking at here, and importantly, when you start capturing data in Wireshark, and if you wanted to look at, let's see, use this one. If you're looking at these two things together, they should map up here. And what I mean here by the header is when you're looking at, for example, the header length, this is specifically mapped to the header diagram here, where you can see for the exam and for working with it, you have to understand specifically what each piece of the header is and why it holds this type of information. So when it has the source and destination address, that's predominantly, there's the source and there's the destination address. What version of IP are you using? Overall, what's the header length? Are you using diffserv? And we'll go over this again, but it's very important for the exam as well as for working in the field. But you have to understand, what does the total length mean? So you have here an entire, you have a frame header, Ethernet, IP4, and ICMP all bundled together. What does that mean? So total length of the entire section up to this point, whereas just the header length itself might be 20 bytes. You'd have to understand that. And very importantly, time to live, flags, specifically what the underlying protocol is. We've disabled the validation of checksumming. Just really quick, that's because the NIC card plays into doing that, so you get a lot of false positives, so we just turn that off unless you're going to fiddle with the NIC card. But here we have a lot of important information we need to know. Is it fragmented or not? Time to live, this is very relevant. So for example, if it was set at 1 or 0, it's not going to be able to make another router hop. It's pretty much expired. All these same concepts, that all maps to this here, the actual header itself, and why it's so important to understand that when using Wireshark. And then protocol decode and inspection. Basically, this is very fundamental, but very critical to every aspect of everything we do and learn, is that when data is captured, it's analyzed, but really you have to look under the hood with Wireshark. That's the whole reason you're using it, and understand exactly what you're looking for and how that transpires or shows itself in Wireshark is ultimately the goal, and why the placement and the understanding of the protocols and what you're looking for is very relevant. So I hope that whole concept sinks in as far as moving forward with learning this tool and trying to pass this exam. It's not a one-size-fits-all type of thing. You're not going to be able to open Wireshark, install it, hit go, and there's going to be your answers. There's a lot of details that you're going to have to look for, and why it's very important to basically go through this data. And here for this example, we're just looking at a very simple ARP. But again, what's important about the ARP here is, although there's specifics to the ARP header right here, there's no specifics to an IP header, because one does not exist. So understanding specifically what that means, as far as looking online, looking through your books, looking through the videos, and looking at your own captures, capturing this data, knowing what ARP does, specifically, yes, it resolves addresses. That's great to know, but what specifically in the data? What do you see? Do you see the burned-in address, MAC address? What is that address really made up of? So down here you can see that this is Cisco. So the first segment of the actual MAC address is usually the vendor ID. So again, understanding this and being able to look at this is what's relevant to understanding the protocols. Broadcast, all Fs and hex. What does that really mean? That's simply a broadcast of the R packet. Excuse me. So again, what's very relevant here is not just understanding the protocols themselves, but really understanding what those protocols mean to Wireshark. And again, this captured protocol data can be inspected for issues, and that's where protocol analysis comes in. When you open up the data for inspection, you look at things, for example, like, well, why did this packet drop? Does it have an appropriate TTL? Is this ICMP have the correct flag? Is it a packet that's getting dropped? Does it have the correct flag set? All of these things, all of these problems, you cannot see without capturing the data for inspection, and that's the underlying rule for protocol analysis and using Wireshark. And as we mentioned earlier, the traffic analysis, looking at things like, hey, I just got a zero window in expert. What does that mean? Okay, well, that could mean a lot of different things. It could mean that you have a bandwidth issue, you have a window sizing issue. It wasn't negotiated properly. Many things. Again, we'll get into them in detail as we go along. But overall, why understanding protocols, why understanding data, capture data, and using Wireshark is critical to your success. And also, as recommended, definitely check out and go to the Wireshark website itself. So if you go to Wireshark itself here, wireshark.org, you can get the tool. In our next segment, next two segments, we're going to do a little bit more about using the tool, installing the tool, but primarily the wireshark.org, right? This is where you can download the tool itself, learn. Obviously, this is awesome, and what's very important is that there's some very relevant and current information. It's a well-kept site. It's something that, for example, right now we're going through shell shock. For those of you working, the bash vulnerability that is taking place, the Heartbleed bug with the SSL problems. This is all stuff that there's a lot of information out there on. No, it's not directly mapped to the exam, so you're not going to be asked a question on Heartbleed. But again, being able to capture that data and see the patterns and anomalies that are so well documented now online, this is the areas where you'll be able to really figure that out and learn more about using the tool to detect that type of problem. So I find this to be a resource that doesn't directly map to the exam, but quite honestly, almost all of the information on the exam is found in some aspect on this website, right? So that being said, then you go to the Wireshark University or the Wireshark training site, where I just put the syllabus up into the the sharing area for us to review as a class. But that's the syllabus. That's the actual exam is mapped to those topics. And then again, as I mentioned, for myself at least, and I'm just speaking for myself, the way that I prepared for the exam was by using the tool at work, for customers, for clients, that type of stuff. It is also augmented with my own interest and studies, the client community, working around problems and investigating them, answering questions that come up that I don't understand, and also using the official course prep from Wireshark Training that maps directly to the exam, as well as just doing these types of other extracurricular efforts, such as writing books, teaching classes, and working pretty much with Wireshark on a daily basis and training and teaching on it. These are all things that helped me prepare. So I think I can help you by giving you at least the fundamental basics of if you use the syllabus and you focus in those areas, and predominantly enough about Wireshark to be able to use it, and you focus in a lot of those areas and listen to some tips and tricks like on this video series, where we're going to point in some areas and say, hey, just look here, take an extra look here, you should be good too. But again, it's definitely something, just like any other exam that you study for, it's going to have to be something that you do prepare for. And it's not impossible, but it's definitely not easy. It's definitely somewhere in between. Okay, another question came up. Is the exam version independent, the Wireshark software version? All right, so this is a great question. So I'm sorry, let me open up Wireshark here. So if you look at the actual version of Wireshark, because there'll be something that you'll see pretty often, is that if you're using Wireshark often, a lot of times you open it and it tells you, hey, new version. That's because they're constantly developing it, and they'll send you, I'm actually on the list you can be too if you go to the Wireshark.org site and ask to be on their mailings. It'll tell you every time a version comes out, and it'll give you the bugs that it was fixing. It's to say, that we came out with this version because, of this list or this caveat list, or these bug IDs were fixed and validated, or so these are some of the new things that we found. It'll also tell you about extra functionality. Now, when I was preparing for this exam, it was from 11 to 12, and I pretty much have been updating it regularly, and I've never really had an issue with any of the functionality being able to stop me from passing the exam. Now, I will say this though, and let me pull it up here. There is a beta version of Wireshark that is currently out for those of you who'd like to preview it, and quite honestly, that is not functional enough to get you past the exam. So I would not use any beta versions. I would just use whatever version is currently being maintained as the production version. So here's an example of the beta. Radically different. I would not suggest using this to prepare, or this interface to prepare for your exam. I'm not saying that you can't use it, but as you can see here, there's a lot of stuff that's changed in, for example, just the statistics menu. And I quite honestly feel that this would provide more complication for you to prepare for this exam. So long-winded answer I just gave you, hopefully with some explanation as to why I would not use this version to prepare for the exam, and stick with this version to prepare for the exam. But there is no version of this main version of Wireshark, or the production version, that I've run into any